Take a step back in time, to the world of the early Christian era, a time of great societal and religious transformation. Imagine a world where societal norms and gender roles were starkly different from what we know today. A world where patriarchy reigned and women were largely confined to domestic roles. Yet, amidst these constraints, a new religion was burgeoning, spreading its roots across different regions. Christianity, with its core tenets of love, compassion, and equality, was emerging as a beacon of hope amidst societal chaos. However, just like the society it was born into, the early Christian church was also predominantly male-led. But here's the twist. In this seemingly male-dominated society and nascent Christian church, women found a new path. They carved out roles for themselves that were not just limited to followers, but extended to leaders, a role that was both pivotal and often underrepresented within the early Christian church. Unearth the tales of the New Testament where women emerged not merely as followers, but as influential leaders. Indeed, the New Testament presents a rich tapestry of female characters who played pivotal roles in the early Christian church. Take Mary Magdalene, for instance. Her story has often been shrouded in controversy and misinterpretation. Yet she was one of the most loyal disciples of Jesus, a witness to his crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. She was the first evangelist, sharing the news of Jesus' resurrection, thus earning the title Apostle to the Apostles. Then we have Phoebe, a deacon of the church in Century. This remarkable woman was a benefactor of many, including the Apostle Paul himself. Her role as a deacon challenges the conventional understanding of women's roles in the early church, suggesting that they held positions of leadership and influence. Just as intriguing is the story of Priscilla, a skilled teacher of the faith who, along with her husband Aquila, instructed Apollos, a powerful preacher of the time. Her knowledge and teaching ability highlight that women were not only active participants, but also leaders in theological discussions. And let's not forget Junia, a woman who Paul refers to as outstanding among the apostles. This reference has sparked many debates. Was Junia a female apostle? If so, she would be one of the earliest known female apostles, further challenging the perception of gender roles within the early church. Each of these women offered unique contributions to the early Christian church, breaking barriers and defying societal norms. They were leaders, teachers, benefactors, and evangelists. However, their stories are not without controversy. Over time, interpretations and translations of these accounts have varied, often reflecting the societal attitudes and biases of the era. Through their actions and influence, these women challenged the established norms, laying the foundation for a more inclusive Christian community. They serve as a testament to the diverse roles women played, not just as followers, but as integral architects of the early Christian church. Delve into the heart of controversy as we interpret and decode Paul's epistles concerning women. These letters, written by the Apostle Paul to early Christian communities, have sparked heated debates over the centuries. The crux of the controversy lies in the interpretation and translation of these texts and their implications on the role of women in the church. Let's begin with the Epistle to the Corinthians, where Paul instructs women to remain silent in the churches. Some argue that this was a specific instruction for a particular congregation dealing with specific issues, while others view it as a universal mandate. It's a complex issue, and it's crucial to consider the cultural context. In Paul's time, societal norms were vastly different from ours today. Women, in many aspects, were considered secondary citizens. So was Paul laying down a theological doctrine or merely reflecting the societal norms of his time? Then we have the Epistle to the Ephesians, where Paul urges wives to submit to their husbands. Again, some interpret this as a divine command, while others argue it was a reflection of the patriarchal culture of the time. However, it's worth noting that in the same passage, Paul also instructs husbands to love their wives as Christ loved the church, implying a mutual respect and equality. Moreover, in his letter to the Romans, Paul acknowledges Phoebe, a woman, as a deacon of the church in Century, and Junia as outstanding among the apostles. These acknowledgments suggest that women held significant roles in the early church, contradicting the notion of them being merely passive followers. The conflicting interpretations of Paul's epistles have significantly shaped the perception of women's roles in the church. However, it's important to remember that translations can often be influenced by the translator's cultural context and personal bias. The task of separating cultural context from theological doctrine presents a challenge. yet it is crucial in understanding the true role of women in early Christianity. Journey through time, witnessing the evolution of women's roles as the church institutionalized over centuries. As early Christianity began to take shape, women held positions of leadership and influence. However, as the church institutionalized, their roles began to change. The church, much like the society around it, began to mirror the patriarchal norms of the time, pushing women into more subservient roles. Over the centuries, this marginalization continued. Women's roles in the church became confined to that of followers rather than leaders. Their voices, once integral to the early church, were gradually silenced. Their contributions and influence were often overlooked, their leadership roles diminished. But this is not the end of the story. Fast forward to the present day, and you'll see a different picture. The modern church is grappling with questions of gender equality and female leadership. Churches around the world are reevaluating the roles of women, recognizing their invaluable contributions, and reinstating their rightful place in leadership. Yet parallels can be drawn between the early church and the modern church. Just as in the early days, women continue to play pivotal roles, often behind the scenes, their contributions shaping the church in numerous ways. And just as in the early church, the role of women in the modern church is a subject of debate and controversy. Change, however, is afoot. The modern church is beginning to question the traditional interpretations of early Christian texts that have marginalized women. There is a growing recognition of the need to revisit these texts, to reinterpret them in light of gender equality, and to challenge the patriarchal norms that have long defined the church. As we stand in the present, we must question, are we truly upholding the legacy of these early female leaders, or is it time to revisit and reinterpret our texts in light of gender equality?